Hey everyone, Crow here, and this is the month in review for February 2020. Alright, we're back again with another month in review, this time for February 2020. And as usual, we're going to go over the 5 categories I have here. We have news, then we're going to cover videos, YouTube videos, then we're going to do the Q&A, and we're going to do pickups from there, and then finally the games that I've played over the month. And let's just get started with the news.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you a special report.
The National Weather Service report. Controller, what is going on in it?
So as usual, this isn't the comprehensive news segment of everything that's happened in February. It's just a few minor things that I noticed in February that I want to talk about. And the very first thing here, and this is not in any sort of sequential order at all, this is just random. We're going to start out with Stern Pinball putting out a video for the Stranger Things pinball machine, touting that there was a secret feature in the Stranger Things pinball machine. In fact, that the playfield was affected by UV lighting, and in fact you can buy a UV lighting kit and install it in the machine. So during certain times during the game, you would go into the upside down and the whole playfield would sort of change. Really cool effect. But if you want one of these kits, they cost $279, which is kind of typical for anything pinball related. I know that if I had a Stranger Things pinball machine, I would want one of these kits. But again, I've not played one of these machines, so I really don't know how it would be affected with bright lights. I mean, do you have to be in a dim room in order to see that take effect? I mean, presumably with the premium model, you've got the projector and everything on there. So, I mean, I just feel like that machine's gotta be in a dark room to begin with in order to take full effect. And if you're playing in a bright room, it's not gonna be as cool. But, yeah, I think one of the arguments that I've seen people argue against is that this is just Stern taking out a feature and then selling it back to you later. I mean, they're arguing that this should be part of the machine when you buy it. It shouldn't be something that you should have to buy and install later on. I mean, this is like a shaker motor and or something like that where you could do with or without it. I mean, I guess you could with or without this feature as well, but it does seem like kind of a major feature in that the upside down was such a big part of the show. So it seems like it should have been part of the machine to begin with, but it does look really cool regardless. Next up, still going with Stern Pinball, recently, really recently, they put up a video for the Black Knight Sword of Rage pinball topper. Now they don't sell this directly themselves. I don't know if they make it or not. They were just kind of advertising it in this really short 30-second video. But man, that topper looks really cool. It really looks cool. If I had like that machine, Sword of Rage, I need to play that a little bit more. I only got one chance to play it and I was left a little bit tepid while I was playing it. So I need to revisit that machine and play it again. It seems like it would be a really cool machine, but maybe I just had a bad experience that one game I played with it. But this topper itself, it looks really cool. You've got the knights with the glowing eyes and the fire, and he's like fully animated, like looking around and everything. It just looks awesome. Now, if you want this, this mod, it's gonna set you back $450. It's not cheap, but you know what? If I had the machine, I would find the money. I would want that so bad. Next up, I'm going to talk about the Wonderful 101 game on the Wii U. In fact, it was the game I wanted the Wii U for. So when we got the Wii U, of course, we had other games. I was like, just as soon as Wonderful 1 came out, I bought it. The game had kind of a steep learning curve for my taste, but once I got over that hump, I was just kind of sailing through the game. The game lasted a long time. It's a great game, but Wonderful 101 and Platinum Games is on Kickstarter, trying to raise up funds, or I guess they're trying to gain interest. I don't even know if they really need the funds, but they're trying to gauge through Kickstarter interest, from what I feel, in having this game ported to the Switch and the PS4. I don't know about the Xbox One. I know the Switch and the PS4 for sure. Switch for sure. PS4 if they reach a certain amount, which they did. And I don't know if other platforms are in the works too. But the reason I bring it up is because I wasn't gonna say, I wasn't gonna buy it for the Switch. I'm like, oh, you know, these Nintendo remakes, when they port them from the Wii U to the Switch, they come with a $60 price tag, and I didn't know if I was even interested in playing through the Wonderful 101 again. But I checked out the Kickstarter anyway, and it turned out that they're only asking for $40 on the Kickstarter to get a copy on the Switch, around $40. It's a little bit more once you pay for shipping and all that. But I was like, you know what? For $40, I'll help fund you on Kickstarter to get the game on the Switch, because I just think that's a really awesome game. It probably maybe one of my favorite Platinum games. I mean, I just really liked it. Next up, there was a Nintendo Direct for the Animal Crossing on the Switch. I can't even remember the name of it. I just wrote Nintendo Direct Animal Crossing. I bring it up because I've been a fan of the Animal Crossing game since the one on the GameCube. Before I even had a GameCube, I would play with my friends while I was in college on the GameCube, and it would show off Animal Crossing, and everybody had their memory cards with their town, and they would visit each other's towns, and Super Smash Brothers. So when I got out of college and I got my job, like within a week, I had bought a Nintendo GameCube and Animal Crossing and Smash Brothers, of course. But I played Animal Crossing for a few years, for more than the other sequels. I mean, the sequels to me, I haven't invested as much time in as I have that original, and it's just because, you know, when you're on your first job and everything out of college, you don't have that much money, so you're gonna play whatever few games you have. So I would wake up early in the morning to do certain things. I'd make sure to visit KK every Saturday night, and that's actually something that I've done in all the subsequent Animal Crossing games. Made sure to get every single KK song. I never cheated or time traveled. I just enjoyed the game for what it was. And so yeah, I am interested in this new Animal Crossing. It looks like the biggest thing to me is that the fact that you can terraform the land itself, make your own ramps, and make your own rivers, and I don't know what point you need to be in the game to do that. I could imagine you're not going to be able to do that right away, but it'll be fun just to sit and relax and play the game until you get to that point. And that's the thing, you always reach this point in Animal Crossing where you've done everything, and the town's exactly the way you want it, and you just kind of stop playing, I feel. And that's when you're done with the game, when you feel like you've done everything in the town that you want to. But it seems like this could last a while on the Switch, and it seems like it'd be really good on the Switch, because then you can play it portably or just sit down and relax on your couch. So I am interested in Animal Crossing, of course. So again, before this comes out, I might actually put out a video on Animal Crossing in the GameCube. That idea's in the works. I'm just throwing it out there. But the last piece of news I want to talk about is the 2020 Rift Tracks Kickstarter. It seems just about every year they put out a Kickstarter for their live shows, and every year I go ahead and fund them, usually at the $30 level. That would get you like a couple of digital goodies and one of the live shows when you when it becomes available for download. And I always feels like I always seem to get more than my $30 worth, because eventually they're like, oh, we're gonna give you this this extra money to redeem on our website. I don't remember. I'm like kind of blanking on the word, but like, here's an extra $5, here's an extra 15% off. We're gonna give you these 10 shorts, but if you already own those shirts, we're just going to give you $1 for each one you already own. So I always seem to get my money's worth with these Kickstarters, and I always try to see one of the movies that they're doing in the year in the theater. And this year, it's going to be Hobgoblins, which was a Mystery Science Theater favorite. They're going to be redoing Hobgoblins, and Amityville 4. And I may go see Amityville 4. I don't know about Hobgoblins, but usually they do them on Thursday nights with a repeat on Tuesday. And the way it works is that they're usually in one location. I think they're usually in Nashville, in a theater in Nashville, and they simulcast to many theaters across the U.S. I don't know about overseas. But, so it is live. You are watching them live, just in a different theater than the one they're at. And I usually have a fun time watching it wherever I wind up watching it. And that's it for news. Next up is going to be videos, YouTube videos, basically. So first off, before I get to YouTube videos by other people, I myself put out 4 YouTube videos this month, which is actually more than I put out in a while. And I might put out even more in the future, and there's a reason for that, and I'll get to that. But the first video I put out this month was a look at Demon's Tilt. It's a great game. It's on Steam, it's on Xbox One, it's on Switch, it's on everything except for the PS4, I think. But it's a really fun game. If you like Devil's Crush on the TurboGrafx 16, it's, you know, having a look at Demon's Tilt is well worth it. Check out the video. And that might have been the only video that I put out this month, but I actually did something a little different this month, because the next video I put out was expanding the channel focus and why. And in that video I explained that I was no longer going to focus on just pinball videos. I was just going to pretty much talk about whatever I wanted, and there's a reason for that. You watch that video if you want the whole explanation, but pretty much I'm going back to when I talked about just about anything I wanted, which was around 2018 and previous. And just 2 days after that, I put out another video called The Crow Continuum, and if you hadn't noticed, the name of this channel is no longer Crow Pinball, it is the Crow Continuum. So going based off of the last video, I said I would only change the channel name if I came up with a name that I really liked, and it turned out I really liked the Crow Continuum. So on Saturday I went through all the platforms, YouTube and Twitch, Facebook and Twitter, and I changed it all from, you know, Crow and Crow Pinball to the Crow Continuum, just to have it like the same across many platforms. There's still some places where I have it as Crow, but I don't think I need to change them there. But basically, that video explains why I changed it to the Crow Continuum, and also went over the channel art that I had on the YouTube channel, and also kind of explained other alternate names that I had thought of. And then finally, the last video I put up this month was, again, only a couple days after that, and that was called, apparently I'll Buy Anything, Limited Run Games 2019 Blind Box. So way back in early January, I bought a blind box from Limited Run Games, and had I been still Crow Pinball and not changed the focus, I would have just threw the game that I got in this video. But since I did change the focus, I made a video on that unboxing. And what game did I get? Well, you just have to watch the video to find out. So that's it for my videos, but there are 6 other videos on 6 other channels I want to just shout out right now. And the first one is on the channel ETA Prime. And the video is Sharpen, First Look and Test a Bar Top Virtual Pinball Machine Powered by Android. Now, it's actually been quite some time since I watched this video because it was really early in the month. But basically, ETA Prime is showcasing this prototype device that will eventually go up for sale. I'm guessing the company name is Sharpen, based on the title, because it's been a while since I seen it. I vaguely remember the video now. But it's basically a device that basically has a tablet in it and kind of a form factor where it has pinball buttons on the side, and it's powered by Android. So not going to go into it more than that. I don't remember if you can get it with or without the tablet, or how that works, or the price even. Just something I wanted to shout out because it is kind of pinball related. It's kind of cool, so check that out. Next up, we got from Toy Galaxy, the history of micro machines, fast talking teeny tiny vehicles in the 80s and 90s. And I had to shout out this video because I owned a lot of micro machines back in the day when I was a kid, and I think the reason I had a lot of them is because they were cheap, and my mom would often go buy me some, and if somebody needed a present for me for whatever reason, they would get me micro machines. I really liked them. I was at the Hot Wheels as well, but once micro machines came out, no longer getting Hot Wheels, I was getting micro machines. Now, unfortunately, over the years, I probably over a decade or so, probably like 15 years ago or so, I probably sold off all my micro machines. I might still have a few left. I don't know if I exactly regret that decision now, because I really didn't have any place for them, and I decided I'd rather have the money. at the time. So there's that. But you know what? If Micro Machines ever came back, I would probably be right back at the store buying them. At least the ones that I like. And yeah, that's Toy Galaxy. Next video I want to shout out here is from Cobra DVS. The video name is Cobra DVS is back 2020 update and room tour. Seems like there is a lot of people that used to do YouTube that are coming back to doing YouTube, and Cobra DVS is one of them. You remember having chats with them over Google Hangouts sometimes with some other people. And it was one of those channels where I would always watch the videos that he put up. So this video, he explains why he hasn't been putting up videos in a while. He's basically finishing college up, and that's perfectly understandable. You don't have time for YouTube if you're deep in studies. And and basically he's bought a house, and he's basically showing off his new game room. So yeah, pretty cool that he's back. Go back, support him. Check out his channel, show a little bit of interest, basically, is what I'm saying. Next up, we got a video from the Atari Creep with the Hyperkin Ranger review. And I had to shout out this video because Atari Creep is a channel that I discovered fairly recently. He was talking about the Amico. That's how I discovered him in my YouTube homepage. And I checked out that, and I was checking out some of his other videos. But when he reviewed the Hyperkin Ranger, which is a Atari 2600 controller with a paddle built in, I had to shout out this video because I really liked the video, and on top of that, I was looking forward to buying the Hyperkin Ranger, and I didn't even realize it had been released. So that video to me was a reminder to, hey, I need to go buy this Hyperkin Ranger and try it out and get it myself, just to throw in with my Retron 77. And because it seemed pretty interesting, and it wasn't too expensive. But yeah, check out the Atari Creep. I really like his videos, and I think you might too. And then finally, get a video from MC Murr, and it's exclusive Intelligent Amico interview with Tommy Tallarico. And the reason I wanted to shout out this video is this is a long video. It's an hour long. Basically, he's doing an interview with Tommy Tallarico about the Intelligent Amico, and this isn't the only interview that Tommy Tallarico has done in the past. Now, if you're not familiar, Tommy Tallarico is a video game veteran. He's done music for lots of games. He's worked on a lot of games in the past. He bought up the rights for Intellivision and is now going to be releasing a new console, the Intellivision Amico, this October. If you watched my last month review, you'd know that I got the Founders Day, the Founders Edition of the Amico, which is something I wasn't expecting to do. But the more I hear about the Amico, the more I am excited for it. And I'm just glad that I did get the Founders Day Edition, because the more I hear about it, the more I'm liking what I'm hearing. Now, again, this is Tommy Tallarico. He's going to talk up his product. He's not really going to say anything negative about it. And so I'm cautiously optimistic, but still optimistic nonetheless. So if you're interested in hearing more from Tommy Tallarico and the Amico, check out this video. I mean, there are other videos that he's done interviews with, but this is one in February that I noticed, and I wanted this to be videos from February. So that's it for YouTube videos. Let's move on to Q&A.
Questions. I need answers.
All right, so if you want to ask a question that I might possibly answer in a future month in review video, go just leave it in the comment below, and I may or may not decide to read it. I'll probably answer it regardless, but I may or may not actually read it in the video. So the first one I have here is from the Gamer Sleuth, and he says, I haven't had any time to play Shenmue 3 yet. I am currently playing my PS3 backlog. I also got Judgment as well on PS4. It's also open world and is a Yakuza spin-off. Haven't played that one either. How do you tackle your backlog? And actually, there's just so many games that I have that I've never played that at this point I'm realizing that I'll never play. And to be honest, I've been selling those games off. Every once in a while, I'll just kind of scan my video game library, and if it's a game that I've owned and I haven't touched, or it's a game I don't like, or if it's a game I could do without, or it's a game I beat and really didn't care about, or it's just a game that I just know that I'm never going to have time to play and really holds no value for me significantly, I'm just going to throw it up on eBay. But I do have a list of games that once I play them, it's like, okay, I'm going to play this game and I'll be in the middle playing a game, however long it could take. I could spend a month or two playing a game that seemingly some people only spend a couple days on. I don't know how it's possible, but yeah, there's some games where I'll play them for a month and people just beat them over a weekend. I don't even know what the point of rushing through a game like that is, or I'm just not capable of sitting there and playing a game for 12 hours straight. But yeah, I'll just take my time, play my games. I've got a list. So yeah, so once I finish one game, I just go on to the next game on the list. But then again, you are always buying new games, so sometimes you just might shoehorn in a newer game and push other ones back. And then sometimes games just fall so far off your list that you're like, maybe I'll sell that game off. I'll never get to play that. But yeah, sometimes the list just gets so long that there's really nothing you could do about it. But fortunately for me, a lot of the AAA games that come out these days, I'm not even remotely interested in. So that keeps my list down. So I just say, be a little bit more picky about the games that you're going to play. You don't have to play everything, and I don't think you can play everything. Moving on, next question, Donato XIE. Thanks a lot for including my question, because I read his question last month. By the way, I hope it's okay to ask here for next month's video. Ever dug into visual pinball? If so, what tables did you play? Now, I have kind of looked into visual pinball a little bit, like 1, 2, 3 times maybe, but I never really took it that seriously. I never really dug into it that far. Not even to the point to where I can even remember what tables I tried playing on it. I just know that it's not, it's hit and miss. You really have to experiment with visual pinball, with settings and the quality of the tables and the fact that you can build your own tables. It's like, well, maybe you download this table, but you have to tweak it this way. There's just a lot of tweaking involved, and I don't know if I want to take the time to do that. It is fun to mess around with, don't get me wrong. And if I were to make my own virtual pinball cabinet, I would be probably knee deep in it, experimenting with it, trying to get it to work on the virtual cab. But to be honest, like the more commercial products like Pinball Arcade, Pinball FX, and Zaccaria Pinball, they're just ready to go. I could just kind of install them, plop my ass down in a chair and play them, and not have to worry about a ton of settings, getting the game to work right and such. But again, if you are into that kind of thing and you're willing to put the effort into it, you could definitely come out with stuff that looks way better than anything that's available commercially. So, I hope that answers your question. The answer is pretty much no. Or yes, a little bit. Next question is from Madden70. Great video! Are you going to get the Poly Mega? Also can't wait for the Arcade 1-Up Pinball. I tell myself that I will get one, but after I get one, I will probably get them both. Well, yeah, I'm really interested in the Arcade 1-Up Pinball as well. Need more details on it, need to know the price. I'm not going to be able to get both of them, and besides, if you buy both of them and they come out with a third one, you're going to get that one too. As it is, I don't even know if I have room for one, but I really want one anyway. So I'd probably buy one and be like, oh crap, where am I going to put this? But to get to your question, are you going to get the Poly Mega? The Poly Mega was something I was actually really interested in way back when it was called Retro Blocks. I believe that's what it was called. And for those who don't know, it's like a modular console, pretty much, where you can, like, if we're gonna have a Nintendo module, you kind of take off the piece and put in the Nintendo module, then you can plug in the Nintendo controllers and cartridges. Super Nintendo, unplug that, plug that in. TurboGrafx do the same thing. I think there's a CD unit built into it, so it'll play a lot of stuff. The thing is that it's all emulated. No FPGA, from what I understand, unless that's changed. And I'm to the point now, like even with like the Retron 5, I don't really play it anymore. Partially because a lot of the pins don't work and I'm just not into fixing it. But why go through all that effort when I have my laptop hooked up to my TV and I could just load ROMs and it's exactly the same thing? It's superfluous in a way, because you're spending all this extra money to plug a cartridge in, and yet you're just playing a ROM, which is the same thing that you could do for free on an existing computer or even a tablet. So I'm just like not into spending the money for it. I mean, the thing is though, with FPGAs gaining more and more popularity, like the Mister and what I can't even remember, the analog company, I guess, coming out with those other products. I can't remember the exact names of them. You are getting hardware emulation and not software emulations, and I think the Polymega is just software emulation, and I think we're actually past that point to where we need more software emulation. So if they were to turn around and make it hardware emulation, that'd be a different story. But as it is now, I don't think I'm interested in the Polymega at all. Especially, like, you're just going to be winding up spending hundreds of dollars for something that you could do on a computer you already own. I've pretty much changed my tune on that over the years. I would, years ago, 3-4 years ago, I would have been so into that if it would have released 3 or 4 years ago. But now I think the landscape's changed. I don't think there's a place for it anymore. Moving on. Last question from Josh McLeod. Will the Switch ever get the Marvel tables on FX3 or any new tables? Thanks. Well, that I can't answer for sure, but it's definitely a possibility. And I actually don't look at the Switch version of Pinball FX3 that much. It actually was a while before I realized these Star Wars and Marvel tables weren't even on it. Actually, it was around the time where Star Wars Pinball came out as a separate package that I was like, oh, these tables aren't even in Pinball FX3 on the Switch. So I don't know if there's some sort of licensing issue with that, but it's possible, based on the sales of Star Wars Pinball, if they would be willing to do a Marvel Pinball in the same vein as a standalone release. I guess it really just depends on the sales. And if Star Wars Pinball did good, yeah, I could see them come out with a Marvel Pinball. In fact, it wouldn't even be the first time they did a Marvel Pinball. I mean, as you can see right here, we have the Marvel Pinball Epic Collection Volume 1. And to be honest, I don't think the sales of this were that great because there was never a Volume 2. But again, maybe that's why they held off on releasing these tables on the Switch, because these tables were already available in Pinball FX3. Maybe that's why nobody really bought this, or maybe the sales just weren't that great on it. But it's possible that that's why they held off on the Marvel tables, because if they do release it as a separate product, the people that play on Switch are going to be like, well, this is the only way I can play these tables, and they'll buy that product. So that's really the only guess I have. I really have very little inside knowledge of what's going on with Zen Studios and the Pinball FX3 games. So that's it for Q&A. Next up is pickups. Let's move to the pickup cam. Alright, so if you were paying attention earlier in the video, you would know that I shouted out the Atari Creep in his video about the Hyperkin Ranger and how it reminded me that, oh, this is something I was interested in, so of course that's going to be the first thing I picked up here. So yeah, that's the box. Here is the device itself. It's got a really, really long cord. I don't know if it's really necessary to have it be that long, because even if you're playing on the Retron 77 or the Atari 2600 itself, you're going to have to be close to the console anyway because of the buttons on the console. But yeah, it's I wasn't sure I was going to like this thing. I bought it mainly because of the paddle aspect of it, and because, you know, paddles, every paddle I've ever owned has had jitter from time to time. Now you could open it up and fix it however you want to fix it, but unless I think you replace the potentiometer or do some sort of mod to it, the jitter always comes back. So I was thinking it'd be interesting to have something a little bit different. Now this paddle is significantly different. I didn't know if I'd like it or not because, again, the real paddles, you're not going to be blocked by the plastic, and you get blocked by the plastic here. So I tested it out on like Circus Atari, and it works fine, and mostly because you don't have to worry about turning it that much, because this is it's small and it's very fine. Movements will move it a long way, so you very rarely actually get your fingers hitting the plastic. I would prefer if it kind of just stopped there and I could just turn it all the way around, but it's fine the way it is. Now as for the stick itself, I thought I was going to hate this thing, mostly because the regular Atari joystick is just 4 directionals, and yet this looks like an analog stick. So I tried it out on Chopper Command, and you know what? First game I played in Chopper Command in quite some time, and I actually did pretty well in it. So this works really well, I think, for what it is. No problems. I actually tried it on Atari Pinball because I wanted to see how awkward it was, because the joystick left is the left flipper, right is the right flipper, and up is both flippers, and it's kind of awkward no matter how you slice it. But yeah, I was able to cope with it. It's also got the switch here for the stick mode or the paddle mode, and then you could actually reverse it so you can play it left-handed. So yeah, it's actually I think it complements the Retron 77 pretty well, and I could see myself using this on the Atari 2600 as well. Now the price, I don't remember. Let me look that up really quick. Yeah, I was gonna say the price was $20, but it's actually $25, and I really don't think it's that bad for this. So let's get this stuff out of the way. So on Saturday, Metal Jesus Rocks put out a tweet, and usually on Friday he'll put out a tweet that says, "Hey, what you playing this weekend?" And I'll post a picture of a game or two. And he posted a picture of, for the Xbox One, Bayonetta/Vanquish, and the other game in that picture was this one, the Yakuza Remastered Collection. And I was like, hey, I didn't even know this was released, but apparently this came out in mid-February. So I wound up ordering this right away. This was $59.99, and despite the fact that saying the Yakuza Remastered Collection, I don't know if you can really call it a collection if it doesn't include all the games, because this only includes 3 games in the Yakuza series. This includes 3, 4, and 5, all of which were on the PS3. Now 5 actually never got a physical release in the US. And myself, I did already have a couple of the Yakuza games, so before we open that up, I'm just going to kind of show off really quick the Yakuza games I already had. This was what got me started into it. Now, I played these a little bit. I haven't gotten totally into it, and that's because, again, I just wanted to try it out, but I will now definitely play these games. But I found this at Target for like $15, and it's a steelbook. That's why I bought it. And honestly, I don't even know why I bought this. I think it's because I thought that this is this is like a prequel to the whole series, but you're not really supposed to play this first. I guess it's after 5. So, keeping this in mind, this has 3, 4, and 5. So we'll come back to that later. But in this package is actually something really odd. This includes, like as I said before, Yakuza 5 was never released in the US physically. Well, they gave you a physical case, a physical PS3 case for Yakuza 5. Nothing in it. I don't know what the purpose of this was. I mean, I guess if you have Yakuza 4 and 5, or sorry, Yakuza 3 and 4, you could put this on the shelf. But then this box winds up being half empty, so that's kind of odd. So honestly, it's kind of bizarre in a fun way, I think. So I'll give it a pass. But again, here's the case itself, and you're getting 3 and 4 on one disc and 5 on another disc. And yeah, I will play these in the future, and I'll get to why that'll work out. So again, I had the steelbook of Kiwami, which is a remake of the first Yakuza game that was on PS2, 0. So what I was missing after I got this was Kiwami 2, which would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 0, and then the most recent game, 6. So I did get 6. Again, this was like really cheap. This is like $18 on Amazon. And again, just odd. This is an odd case. I don't even know what possessed me to buy this way back when I bought it. But again, it's just so weird because this just is an art book, but the game is in the art book. That is some bizarre packaging, I think. So again, you have to have the art book. I don't know if there's a standard version of this or not, but I think there might be, but I think this version was actually cheaper. The other odd thing about this is it's like an odd size from a standard regular Blu-ray game, so it's a little bit taller. It's about the size of a DVD, but again, it's actually a little bit wider, so I don't know why they just didn't force the art book to conform to the standards or whatever. I don't know. Does it really matter? In the end, it's just going to look a little awkward on the shelf, but that's fine. But then again, I'm missing 2, so I just bought the standard version of Yakuza Kiwami 2. And I got nothing really special about this one. Just bought this on Amazon too. It was around $20. So I figured after I bought this to spend the extra around $40 just to have the complete series, Kiwami, the mainline series. There's a lot of side stuff. 2, then this is 3, 4, 5, and then again play 0. You can correct me if I'm wrong on the order of the way to play these games. But now, and it's funny because in the Q&A I was talking about backlogs, and look at this, I'm not even in camera here. That's how professional I am. But I was talking about backlogs, and here I am inserting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more games into my gaming backlog. But I'm going to be sure to play these. Once I get started on Kiwami, I'm probably not going to stop. And I know that I'd be into them because this was another one of those spin-off games. Now granted, I did buy this because it is Fist of the North Star, but it is modeled off of these Yakuza games. And I'm told that the Yakuza games are actually better than this. So I have a feeling I'm really going to enjoy these games. So that's it for pickups. Let's move on to the games that I've played this month. So what have I been playing? If you watched the last month in review, you know that I was playing Shenmue, the original Shenmue from the Shenmue 1 and 2 Remastered collection on the PS4, and actually early in the month I finished the first Shenmue. I don't remember how much difficulty I had in it. I mean, again, it was the second time I was playing it, so it was quite a bit easier than the original time I played it on the Dreamcast a couple of years ago. And yeah, a game just kind of, I soared through the game in a way where the game was ended before I even realized it, even though I knew it was heading towards that direction. But then again, I just hit this one section where it's like, oh, I can only proceed to the end of the game. I can't explore the world anymore. Well, let's just go for it, and I did it. So then I moved on to Shenmue 2 from the Shenmue 1 and 2 Remastered collection on the PS4, and I actually blew through that game. I played through the whole game in like 2 weeks, which for me is like blowing through the game. So again, it was a game I played before on the Xbox, the original Xbox. We can't call it the Xbox One because that's something else. And again, I played it before, and since I kind of knew the beats of the game, I just kind of flew right through it. The only trouble, there's some points in the game where I had trouble with the quick time events, especially the point where you're trying to climb up that building and go up through the boards. I was getting so frustrated at that point because I felt like maybe it's just my age, but holy crap, I felt like I was hitting the buttons in time, but I was missing them every time. It was like to the point to where I had to know in advance what the quick time event buttons were going to be in order to do it. And by the time I got to the 10th floor, I would just take a step and fall, and take a step and another step and fall, because and I'd have to know every single beat ahead of time, and it just took me forever to get up that building. And other quick time events as well, I just would miss it the first time every single time. And I don't know if that was the intention or I'm just too slow. Honestly, I'm probably just a little too slow, but I also think it's a little bit too quick. And then the fighting, I was having trouble with the fighting until one point in the game where I kind of just, it just all clicked, and then I was like beating everybody from that point on. Those were the only troubles I had with the game, but I just kind of blew right through it, just playing a little bit every night. And then, of course, since I finished Shenmue 2, I picked up Shenmue 3, which I got through the Kickstarter, and I've had that for a while, and now I finally started playing it. And I don't know how far I am in the game because I really don't know the length of the game. All I could say is that I played through the first area of the game, Bailu, got to the second area, and that's kind of where I am now. And it's kind of funny because I was walking around like, the second area is pretty nice. It's a pretty confined area. And then I kind of turned a corner, and I was, this is much bigger than I thought it was. And it's a pretty cool game. I like all the Kickstarter references they throw in there. There's like a little diary book in the hotel. You could read comments people have made through the Kickstarter. And there's actually a Shenmue museum, I think. I just discovered this the other day, where you walk in there and there's photos of people that funded the game on Kickstarter. But it's kind of creepy in a way. How would you feel if you walked into a random building and there was just like statues and pictures of you everywhere? You'd be a little bit creeped out. You'd feel like you were on the Truman Show or something, and you wondered somewhere where you actually didn't belong. But as for the game itself, the fighting is a little bit improved, but still doesn't really quite have a it doesn't feel natural in a way because you have to dial in your moves. It's like, oh, you want to do a sweep kick? Well, you have to hit this button this many times. You want to do a roundhouse? You have to actually hit 4 buttons. So you have to know these moves, dial in your moves. So it's kind of awkward. Fighting is still kind of awkward, but it's very different than the first 2 Shenmue games too. The thing about the game that I'm not sure I really like is the fact that you are constantly losing health throughout the day and you have to eat to gain health back. Now, like after the first day, you're always going to have money for food. You're always going to be able to get the food somehow. You're always going to be able to walk around with it. And you just kind of have to pay attention. It's like, oh, let me. It's funny. I bought so much garlic, and in my game, Rio eats nothing but garlic, so his breath must stink to high hell. And he's going to keep the vampires away because he eats nothing but garlic. My problem is that you'll be walking along and all of a sudden maybe a fight event will take place, but you wouldn't know that, and you may start out with half your health, and the odds of you getting your ass beat are pretty good unless you've leveled up. And that's one thing I like, is the fact that training actually levels up your stamina and your attacks and your health actually. So it's worth it to actually train in this game, not like Shenmue 1 where I don't think it did anything. But it really helps, because there was one guy I couldn't beat and I just trained for a couple days and I came right back and he was so easy to beat. So I like that aspect. But again, just haphazardly wandering into a fight with no health is no fun. And then you wind up losing, and then you're right back before the fight and you're like, oh, I guess I better eat. So in a way, I don't understand why it just doesn't automatically refill your health if you wind up in a fight. Kind of the same thing with the cutscenes, because it's kind of funny with the cutscenes, because again, I'm kind of having that same problem I did with Shenmue 2. I just might be too slow. But you miss a cutscene, like sometimes it just come out of nowhere and you're like, oh, it's a cutscene, and you'll get one punch and you're down, and it just starts right back up again. So it's kind of funny. It's like, what's the point of the QuickTime events if it's not gonna affect anything? And it's just funny when you fail. That's the only thing. It's like, why not just play it out like normal? I guess that's the main argument against QuickTime events to begin with. I mean, it's one thing if you pass or fail and the game kind of splits depending on whether you pass or fail. But it's another thing if the game just won't let you proceed unless you just happen to hit the buttons at the right time. I guess that's the argument against QuickTime. I mean, Shenmue's kind of a pioneer in QuickTime events, so of course they got to be in Shenmue 3. But again, it's almost proving to be irrelevant. Like, we don't need it. So, again, it wouldn't be Shenmue without QuickTime events. I guess it's a catch-22. It needs the QuickTime events, but then again, it really doesn't. But you know what I'm saying. And you know what? That's the end of this video. Let's just leave it at that. Thanks for watching. See you next time.